6 months ago, Liam Croft died. At least that's what the official report said. A tragic rock climbing accident in the remote Andes. His body was never found. The news had been a shock to the world, but for his family, it seemed more like an opportunity. Liam, however, was not dead. He had been pushed. A freak accident orchestrated by his brother Julian and his fiancée, Izzy, who had been having an affair behind his back. They had loosened the bolts on his climbing gear. Liam survived the fall, barely, and was found by a reclusive shepherd. Nursed back to health, he spent his recovery in a stone hut, plotting. He watched the news on a crackling satellite phone. He saw his mother, Eleanor, give a tearful, perfect interview. He saw Julian in a tailored black suit, comforting grieving Izzy. He saw them sell his majority share in the app company he'd built from scratch, Croft Dynamics, to a rival firm for a fortune. He didn't just want them dead. That was too easy. He wanted them to feel the public annihilation he had felt. 6 months later, an elegant cream-colored invitation arrived at the Croft family mansion. Mr. and Mrs. Eleanor Croft request the pleasure of your company at the marriage of their son, Julian Alexander Croft, to Miss Isabel Marie Vance. Liam, now back in the city and living in a bare-bones apartment with Sarah, held the invitation. He smiled for the first time in months. The wedding was to be the social event of the season, held at the Grand Ashford Manor, a venue known for its impeccable security and old-world charm. Perfect. They thought they were locking themselves in a fortress. They were really locking themselves in a theater, and Liam was a sole member of the audience and the projectionist. Liam's plan was elegant. He had used his hidden knowledge of the source code for his old apps to create a powerful new tool, a deepfake and live streaming suite that was virtually untraceable. For weeks, he and Sarah worked. They gathered footage from social media, from corporate events, from home videos. They built the digital puppets. The day of the wedding arrived. Ashford Manor was a flurry of tulle and tuxedos. Inside the main hall, 200 guests murmured in anticipation. Julian, handsome in his suit, stood at the altar. Izzy, radiant in a sleek modern gown, walked down the aisle. Eleanor Croft dabbed a big tear from her eye. At the back of the hall, a large screen was set up to display a slideshow of the happy couple. It was supposed to be a touching tribute. As the officiant began to speak, the screen flickered. Instead of a picture of Julian and Izzy on a beach, a live video feed appeared. It was Liam. He was sitting in a dark room, a single lamp illuminating his face. He looked healthier, stronger, and utterly serene. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. "What the devil?" Julian muttered. On the screen, Liam spoke, his voice amplified by the Manor's sound system. "Hello, everyone. Don't get up. Please enjoy the show. I know I will." Eleanor Croft went pale, clutching the back of a chair. Izzy stumbled back from the altar, her face a mask of horror. "You're all here to celebrate the union of two people who are truly perfect for each other. They share a love of money, power, and apparently pushing people off mountains." Chaos erupted. Guests started whispering, pulling out their phones, but no signal worked. Liam had jammed the local towers. The only broadcast was his. Suddenly, the live feed of Liam was replaced by a video. It was shaky, clearly filmed on a phone. It showed Julian and Izzy huddled together in a dimly lit room just days before the accident. On the screen, Julian's voice was clear. "It has to look like an accident, a fall. He's always rock climbing, it's perfect." Izzy nodded, her face hard. "Just make sure it's final. I can't stand another year of playing the doting girlfriend to that awkward genius." The recording was damning. It was real footage Liam had secretly captured from a nanny cam he'd installed in their apartment months ago, suspecting their affair. He hadn't known the extent of their plans until he reviewed it from his hospital bed in the Andes. The guests turned from the screen to stare at the couple at the altar. Julian's face was a thundercloud of rage and fear. Izzy was frozen, her carefully constructed world crumbling around her. Eleanor Croft looked less horrified by the murder plot and more by the social fallout. On the screen, Liam's live feed returned. That's the thing about building surveillance apps for a living, Julian. You get very good at hiding cameras. But that's just the appetizer. Now for the main course. The screen changed again. This time, the footage was grainy, older. It showed Eleanor Croft, years younger, in an office with a man who looked like a younger, warier version of the family lawyer. They were signing documents. This is from 12 years ago, a time when Dad was still alive and the company was just a small tech startup he'd poured his heart into. He left it to both Julian and me, with a life insurance policy that would pay out to his wife upon his natural death. The video cut to a doctor's report. It showed that Liam's father had died from a rare, untraceable toxin that mimicked heart failure. Then it cut to a bank statement showing a massive, anonymous payment from an offshore account to the doctor who signed the death certificate. The account traced back to a shell company, and the signatory on the shell company? Eleanor Croft. The realization was a physical blow in the room. Julian stared at his mother, his mouth agape. The murder of his brother was one thing, but this was the foundation of their entire lives. His father hadn't just died, he had been methodically killed by his own wife for the insurance money to prop up the failing company. Eleanor's composure finally shattered. "Turn it off, that's a lie. He's a dead man, a jealous ghost trying to tear this family apart." Liam's calm voice returned. "Family? Mother, you dissolved my family the moment you traded Dad's life for a check. You see, while I was recovering, I had a lot of time to think and to dig. You were always so careful, but you underestimated the one person you'd already tried to kill. I had nothing left to lose." The screen went black for a long, terrible moment. The guests stood in stunned silence. Julian looked from his screaming mother to his petrified bride-to-be. The police, who had been summoned by someone whose phone managed to catch a sliver of signal, were now pushing their way through the crowd towards the Croft family. Then the screen lit up one last time. It was a live feed, but not of Liam in his room. It was a drone shot looking down from the manor on the top. The timestamp was live. "For my final goodbye, I wanted to give you a wedding present you'd never forget." Suddenly, the massive chandelier above the wedding party creaked. The bolts holding it to the ceiling, the very same model of bolts that had been loosened on Liam's climbing gear, gave way. With a deafening crash of crystal and metal, it plummeted towards the altar. It missed Julian, Izzy, and Eleanor by a hair's breadth, exploding in a glittering, deadly shower between them and the horrified guests. The symbolism was not lost on anyone. The family was now isolated, trapped on altar behind a wall of wreckage, with the police advancing and the entire world, via the live stream that had just been picked up by news outlets, watching their destruction. The final image on the screen was a simple line of text. "Justice is a dish best served with a live audience. Goodbye." The live stream had out. Liam closed his laptop in his bare apartment. He looked at Sarah, who was watching the news coverage with a grim smile. He didn't feel joy. He felt a profound, echoing peace. He hadn't killed them. He had done something far worse. He'd given them exactly what they deserved, each other for the rest of their lives, in a prison of public disgrace and legal consequences. He picked up a single photograph from his desk. It was of him and his father fishing on a sunny lake. He smiled, a real smile this time. "Goodbye, Dad," he whispered, and then he stood up, ready to walk out of the apartment and into a new, anonymous life, leaving the ghost of Liam Croft behind.